Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Cooper, known as the Channel Guy Trader, and I am reporting to you live from Wall Street Trading Satellite Office down in sunny South Florida. Today's date is Sunday, September the 9th, 2012, and here is this week's weekend review. Well, guys, we had a great week last week. A lot of interesting things take place that we were pretty much well prepared for, that we were expecting to happen. Obviously, if you guys were in the chat room following us, you guys made out pretty well this week. And if you guys have been paying attention to our website, wallstreettrading.com, and the My Wall Street TV page where we put all our YouTube videos on that tab up there, you guys would have made out as well. As we were pretty much on target with what we expected to happen this week, especially with the Russell 2000, which was the strongest index this week. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts and analysis here. We have a lot of stuff to go over, so make sure you have your pen and pencil, your pad and pencil ready. And make sure you have your popcorn ready. In any case here, the NASDAQ up 2.26%, the NYSE up 2.74%, the Russell 2000 up 3.72%, the Dow Jones up 1.65%, the S&P 500 was up 2.23%, as you can see here on the left-hand side. Strongest index across the board this week was the Russell 2000 up 3.72%. Again, we were eyeing the IWM based off the chart pattern, based off how the price action was set up to break through the 82 level, I believe it is. We'll take a look at it. Gave you a nice clean move up to 83 plus on the IWM. A lot of action there. And again, you know, we'll take a look at that chart to show you how we analyze that chart, and we're able to nail that to the T for our followers and ourselves as well. In any case here, GLD, as far as the commodity complex goes, GLD up 2.57%. GDX up 5.26%. We were on target with that as well, as we have bought those NEM calls, I believe, last Friday. iShares Silver up 6%, and then we had the JJC up 5.69%. So strongest commodity sector across the board was the gold sector. Sorry, it actually was silver, then followed by the gold, and I would say copper, because GDX miners had a nice move. A lot of those stocks went up. Copper was up 5.69%, but only stocks I usually watch when I watch copper is FCX and SCCO. In any case, let's go ahead and jump into the charts here. Friday, pretty much a pause day. I mean, I'm not really going to go over the numbers or anything like that, but just Friday, nice consolidation day. We held above, say, 50% of Thursday's action, which is bullish. We actually made, you know, a new high near the end of the day there on the S&P 500, and it was a nice day. So we'll see what happens early next week. Looking for some continuation. But in the meantime, let's go and take a look at this monthly and weekly chart of the S&P 500, and we'll go down. We'll take a look at the small time frames from there. So levels to watch on the ES going forward. You can see this little inverted kind of hammer candlestick we had in 2008 in May, before we had that bear market sell-off right there. The high of that candlestick was 1441. If we take out 1441, we could get a nice move up to the next level around the 1475 area, 1478. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. Taking a look at the weekly chart, which is this one right here on the left-hand side. All right, you can still see we remain in a nice little upward channel, which is this big one from the outside, and then we have a nice little smaller upward channel inside that one. You can see how we finally were able to clear over this 1407.53 level. Okay, and really, you know, if the market was to the market could go up towards 1500 if it wanted to. All right, but now we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, so we have to take a look at these levels right here from the monthly and see that we have some resistance at 1441, which is about 3 points away. And then we take a look at the January highs of '08. All right, that level's coming in around 1482.75, call it 1483. So just some levels to watch going forward, just to put into perspective. But you can see we're above a lot of the resistance, so the least path of resistance is to the upside. All right, taking a look at the daily chart here now. All right, we highlighted the fact that we were watching this key trend line from the head and shoulders pattern that we had back here. Now that we're pretty much breaking out here above this key trend line that we've been tracking for the past month or so. And of course, you guys been watching our videos. You guys know that we've been tracking this trend line, stating the fact that if we don't break below that trend line, we could get a nice up move, and that's what we're expecting sometime in the latter part of the week. Last week, for the fact that, you know, we were still holding above it. We had that big news coming out. We were consolidating in a nice triangle, and we had the nice breakout on the ES. And not to get into much detail, all right, because this is the type of stuff that we want you guys to come in the chat room and learn. I'm going to show you how we were able to capitalize on that move on Thursday. But first, let me give you guys some targets on the ES for next week. All right, so the next key trend line we're going to be watching is around this 1444 level, which is my next target around 1445. Comes from the right shoulder. All right, this was the right shoulder right here. Comes from that key trend line. The same way we use the neckline as a relevant level to watch, the same way we're going to use this key trend line from the right shoulder before we had that little sell-off back here in May as a resistance level or as a inflection area to watch. So that's coming around 1445. All right, keep an eye on that, and then keep an eye on this 1450 level, of course, here. So anyway, real quick before I go, real quick, show you some intraday stuff here. All right, the ES 50-minute chart. Let me take off the studies here real quick. First of all, notice on Thursday how we had that volume coming in the open down there at the bottom of the chart there. Let me take off the studies so you guys can see actually what took place. Nice little upward channel. As you guys know, these upward channels usually resolve to the downside, all right, 80% of the time. But 90% of the time, they use these little upward channels, no matter the time frame, they usually resolve to the downside as it's a pattern that you're playing. So in any case, when we broke to the top side of the pattern here, that's when you usually see that, and then you usually see at the same time we're breaking past the key trend line. You usually get a nice short squeeze. So that's what took place on Friday. We were pretty much well prepared for it. All right, as we had everything lining up as far as the consolidation below that key trend line and below that key level, and then the breakout, and then the volume that came in. All right, so nice analysis there. Again, channel trading is basically what I specialize in. If you want to see how we apply that tactic to a lot of moves intraday on smaller time frames, as down as to the 2-minute and as high as to the hourly time frame, you want to make sure you come check out the chat room, mywallstreettv.com. Password to log in is smart, and you want to make sure you go to the website, wallstreettrading.com. In any case, this is a weekend video, so I will keep it on the daily and weekly time frames here for you guys in the monthly so we can get over this video. And then, of course, tonight at 9:30 p.m., we'll be taking a look at some charts. And if you want to access our live chart session that we have at 9:30 p.m. on Sundays, Eastern Standard Time, you want to make sure you go to wallstreettrading.com and type in your information on the form on the right-hand side to get free access to the mywallstreettv.com chat room. Any questions, just go ahead and send me an email at ccooper@wallstreettrading.com. So those are your levels to watch for next week to the top side, as early next week to the top side. As far as support goes, you want to be watching this 2469 area. Call it 1425, which is the first high that we had made there on the 21st, a couple weeks ago, before we had this little consolidation chop action that people finally put money to work starting last Thursday there. So let's see. Definitely want to wait for a pullback, but they keep on grinding the market higher. We have our targets and levels to work off of. All right. Keep an eye on Friday's lows as well as 1430 as the level to watch to see if they're going to get some short-term selling pressure. All right, a lot of stuff, guys, a lot of stuff. SPY, since I know a lot of you guys out there watching SPY as well. SPY is coming to some levels as well here. Top of the channel. Let me go ahead and remove this trend line right here. That was a relevant trend line. I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to just move it to the side. But we are at the top of the channel on the SPY. Actually, I believe I got to switch this trend line with this one right here down at the bottom, and that shows we still have some more room to go. So SPY still has some more room to go here. All right, we can get a nice move up around I would say 145.75. One thing I want to bring to you guys' attention. Notice how I had this key trend line from back here in March, this little channel right here. Before we we broke down, all right, got the back test, and then rallied down. This trend line is still relevant. So that target on that trend line is all the way up here at 147.23. If we were to rally up there, that would be a good spot to initiate some shorts. But again, I'll take a look at it when it gets there, if it gets there. In any case, just a level to keep on watch there. 146 from the top of this trend line, then 147 area. If the market was to rally up there sometime early next week or midweek, I want to see how price action acts around that level there. All right, taking a look at the weekly and the monthly chart of the Qs. The SPY monthly chart. You guys can see here. Next resistance to watch on the SPY is the January 2008 highs there around 147, which is about 2.5 points away or so here. All right, and you can see the weekly chart. We're at some little resistance, some minor resistance right here at 145. Which, let me see where this comes from. Let's take a look at the 5-year weekly. All right, and that comes from this high from back here in 2008 of May 2008 highs, which of course is the one from the monthly there. Right here, the inverted hammer that you see that we sold off from. So that the high of that right there is 144.30. You can see we closed right there on Friday. You can see the ES was about, what, 3 points away from that high. So a lot of good action out there. A lot of good action. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Qs, and then we'll take a look at the IWM. All right, taking a look at the Qs. Qs had that nice consolidation between 67.37 and 68.87. All right, about $1.50 range there. We were trading it for about the past 2 weeks till we finally broke out. Qs made new 52-week highs. If I was to drag the monthly and the weekly chart over here so you guys can see, the Qs are approaching their 50% retracement from the tech bubble, which is around 70.52. Make sure you keep that level. Make sure you keep that level in mind there. 70.52 is a 50% retracement from the 2000 tech bubble burst right there, when the Qs sold all the way off, all the way back down to 20 from a high of, say, 100, 103, 105 or so. In any case, you want to be watching that level to see how the bulls and the bears react around that price action, around that key area. Taking a look at the weekly chart, you can see here we have a key technical pattern here. Sideways consolidation, breakout earlier in the year on the weekly time frame, rallied up, pulled back, back test held, and now we're back up, breaking out. Holding above 68 is what you really want to see on the Qs. And then if we take a look at the weekly chart, you can see here that looks pretty good as well. And one thing I want to bring down here is to 68. So yeah, holding above 68.64. We could get some nice consolidation off of Thursday's bar. We may need a little bit more time to digest that strong move. Then we could get a nice move higher, trigger to initiate some more size to your position, or if you're watching the Qs to trade some stocks, obviously it's 69.5, which is the new 69.55, which is the new 52-week high. All right, IWM, this is the highlight of the week. Nailed this trade. Gave you guys this trade. A couple, we've been tracking this whole IWM since we had this little downward channel break. But, I'm not going to go back and talk about the hindsight stuff, like a lot of people do. I'm just going to go ahead and bring you the raw analysis, what we try to nail on point using our technical analysis skills of what we can expect to happen based off the most recent action and not what took place like a month ago or whatever. So, in any case here, we were watching the IWM. All right, we've been tracking this whole band of resistance right here, which I had as resistance first. It was red, but then I changed it to green for the fact that we're finally holding above it. Highlight the fact that, look, if we take out this little area right here, this little highs, we have no congestion at all to the left. So therefore, we could get a nice fast move above 83, guys. And if you guys were paying attention watching the videos, and if you guys were subscribed to the YouTube channel, which we do have some more subscribers coming in. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube video. You guys would have been able to capitalize on this move here from 82 and some change all the way up to 84. And again, we bought the TNA calls on Thursday morning for dirt cheap, 90 cents, the 60 strikes, the weeklies, which expired, of course, yesterday. And then, some traders in the chat room, they bought the ETF. So in any case, IWM. Let's bring up the weekly and monthly chart here. A lot of great stuff going on. All right, IWM here. That level you want to be watching on this ETF now is 84.66, which is a high from back here in March of this year. We break past 84.66. The next level you want to be watching is the 2011 highs, all the way around 86.81. All right, taking a look at the weekly time frame. Nice little cup and handle look here. You guys can see we have our nice little cup, a nice little handle. All right, and the IWM is just getting started here. So again, if we could take out this 84, we could take out this little high right here of 84.66. We'll be making new 52-week highs, and the IWM finally, which is what we've been waiting for, has finally caught up to the Qs and the S&P 500. All right, let's go take a look at the U.S. dollar. All right, I hope you guys are still with me. I know this is a weekend review, so you guys know it's extended. The dollar. All right, we've been talking about the dollar getting weak and breaking down ever since it broke this little upward channel. And again, 80% of the time, it's 90% of the time, these upward channels usually result to the downside, no matter the time frame. You just have to be, just have to know the pattern and be ready for it and kind of measure the sentiment and momentum when it's near that area where it wants to break out. Right, and the dollar really broke down about 3 weeks ago. All right, at the beginning of the week, and we've been going down ever since. And we were able to draw this little downward channel, and we've been using that as a gauge. Notice how we were at the same time last week. We did highlight the fact that 80.85 was a 200-day simple and exponential moving average on the daily time frame, and breaking below that would cause some selling. Now the U.S. dollar is back inside this prior range that we broke out of here from back here in March. All right, and now if we hold below, say 80.67. All right, the dollar has a target back down here towards 78.95, back down towards the bottom of the range. What does that mean? That means more buying in commodity stocks, which we have been seeing for the past week and a half, so, and more recently in the past week, obviously, here. And more upward pressure in the markets, as we all know, when the dollar goes down, the markets shoot up and vice versa. So we close at this key trend line. If we break below 80, we break below this key trend line, then I would say that the 79 level is in the cards for sure. All right, and we've been using this as a gauge, and it's been working, guys. And the weekly time frame, right? The weekly time frame of my analysis that I have on the dollar here. Take a look at this, guys. Weekly time frame, U.S. dollar was in an upward channel. Try to break down earlier here back in May. Faked a lot of people out, rallied right back up, and now we're back below the key trend line. Trend line is being respected. And if we were to sell off, continue selling off, next target would have to be really around 78, 76. Like I said, which takes us around that little consolidation area we had. Taking a look at the monthly time frame. The dollar is in a little downward channel type of action here since 2009 highs. And you can see this could potentially be a little fake breakout. All right, kind of like right here. Same type of deal right back here. Fake breakout. Got a lot of people stuck in the old buy the dollar trade, and now they're going to wash them out. As you guys can see here, this is kind of like a little bull flag on the monthly time frame of the U.S. dollar. If this fails, we're definitely going to get some selling. And, a lot of that has to revolve. That revolves around the fact that a lot of people are expecting QE. Obviously, I think if QE wasn't coming, we wouldn't see the market acting like this, as this is obviously moving before the announcement. So it's going to be a possibly buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. And, the market's going ahead and discounting that right there. As a lot of people are expecting the QE to come into their buying these precious metals, these commodity stocks. All right, so let's take a look at the VIX next. VIX, volatility index, is just going out, just squeezing out the market. But one thing that I was looking at last night was the fact that we had this nice little downward channel. Obviously, you guys know, again, 80% of the time, these downward channels usually resolve to the upside when they take place. All right, so with the VIX highlighting the fact that we have more space to go down towards 12. All right, VIX going down means, market has no fear. People are just buying stocks happily. Hey, let's buy some stocks. Yeah. And next target on the VIX is going to be down here towards 12. Expecting it to take out these lows, which means I'm expecting a little bit more upper pressure in the markets. And I'm expecting a good time to buy volatility will be down here around 12 on the VXX. All right, and on the VIX, and that'll be a nice little area down towards the bottom where you can see, like I highlighted here on the chart, they've been buying it down there at the bottom of this channel. Past couple of times ever since you were able to create the bottom channel from here on. All right. What else do I want to take a look at with you guys? Gold /GC 16, 17, 20 key level in the gold. All right, that was our target we were looking for. We hit that. I even had a bet with my friend saying I bet you gold hit 1720. 1720 by the end of this week, and he was like, no, it won't. We bet $25 and I won. Look at that. Any case here, next target in gold 1761. All right, gold continues to remain strong. Next target is 1761. We break past 1761. You want to be watching this 1790. Now, if gold really gets rocking, I wouldn't be surprised if it's at 1800 within the next 2 weeks or so. You can see how the gold futures are trending pretty strong here. Closed at 1737 an ounce on Friday. And again, next target 1761. As long as we hold above 1680 or so, I would think we're in good shape. In my book, gold is a buy in all dips. For some of you guys that watch the GLD, I can show you a little more action that I have on the GLD via the analysis here. And GLD, nice breakout. First target, we had a target of 166. We hit that target. Next target on GLD, you can see is right here. Some minor resistance around the 171 area, but then we have 173.55 up here to watch as well. All right, interesting thing I want to show you guys in the monthly chart and the weekly chart, why we were so confident this gold trade was going to work out, and it has to do around channel analysis, which you guys know I am the channel guy trader. I specialize in a lot of channel analysis. I have a course if you guys are interested in that as well, and if you guys want to see intraday, you guys want to make sure you check out the chat room that I co-moderate with two other great traders that are in there. So in any case here, take a look at this GLD. Nice little downward channel. Notice how we were holding that 152 bid though, and at the same time, if the gold was really weak earlier this year, we would have seen the gold break down towards the bottom of the channel and not hold the key 50% channel line that I have highlighted right here. So once we saw that consolidation, that means there's a held bid in this area. Once you see the this pattern and the stock or equity or ETF, whatever you have marked and tracing this pattern does not go down, that means there's a holding bid right here. So you track that nice little flag right here, and gold had a nice breakout. And GDX as well was showing some decent strength. We'll take a look at that here shortly. So anyways, if GLD could get above 170, we can make a nice move up towards 178. You can see this is a monthly chart of the GLD. You can see how we have this little resistance zone right here. So once we start chopping through that 170 resistance zone, we can make a nice move towards 178. Now the GDX, guys, we nailed that Newmont mining call last week there. GDX, want to show you guys what it's breaking down out of here. So I have some of my channel analysis stuff on here. GDX breaking nicely out of a downward channel here that comes from all the way back here from October of last year. All right, you can see we have our 50% channel analysis on it here. And really, once we started trading above that 50% channel line, which is this line right here. All right, and then once we had this nice looking pattern right here, that obviously I know how to look at it because this type of trading strategy I've been studying for the past 2 years. Plus, in any case, here we have a nice little channel right here that was being respected. Nice little channel. All right, they shook some people out. Notice how it's respecting this little middle 50% channel line to the T. Shook some people out. So this action right here, guys, is a nice little bear trap. Shook those people out. Got back inside the channel, broke out here. Came right back test that 50, and boom, breakout. So we were watching this the whole time, waiting for this move to happen. And that's why last Friday we purchased those NEM calls. And let's take a look at NEM here real quick. And again, we're going to go over the charts tonight at 9:30 p.m. So make sure you join the chat room to watch the live chart session. But NEM bought this one down here around 48.95 through 49 last Friday, and look at this one right here. This one's all the way hit a high of 52.53. So that was a pretty good trade as well. Let's see, anything else that I want to go over? SLV. I really don't trade SLV per se. Well, I do, but I've been tracking the gold instead. SLV, a lot of nice action in those stocks right there as well. So that's it, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. You know what? I forgot to take a look at crude oil with you guys. One last thing here. Crude oil via the crude oil futures. Nice consolidation here between 93, 94, and 98. 4-point range. As long as we continue consolidating this 4-point range and we stay above these moving averages, all right, we're going to be looking for a move higher in the crude oil. If I bring over here the monthly and the weekly time frame, you can see here on the monthly, crude oil looks good. Still in this little middle of the range here, but looks like it wants to make a move back up above 100. And then taking a look at the weekly time frame here. All right, taking a look at the weekly time frame, you can see we're back above. Hold on one second. You can see that we're back above this little base that we had, this relevant level around the 93 area. So 94 is the key level to watch, and you can see from the weekly chart why it is a key level to watch. I'm actually going to make that green for the fact that we're finally holding above that 94 level. Until otherwise, I'll keep it as that. So in any case, that's the end of the video, guys. I know I went over a lot of stuff again. Like I said, I hope you guys were able to track all that stuff. We'll talk about the stock charts that we're watching in tonight's video session around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at mywallstreettv.com. Password to log in is smart. Hope to see everybody there. And hope you guys are enjoying your weekend so far. And it's time to go watch some football, guys. Have a great weekend. Later.